Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our commitment is to help, hope, and healing of our veteran family and our nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran and a certified senior advisor. Join us as we continue the mission of leadership and commitment to our communities and our great country. Why, you never know where we're going to go or who you're going to meet. We invite you to join in, plug in, and share in what we do. This is your Veterans Impact Show. Hey, good day. This is Jim Blythe. And by the way, we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day. And my mother in her Tilly ancestry from Ireland would be so thrilled about what we're doing today. I got to tell you, we've got a really great program. I am so excited. I want to introduce you to Bob Caughey, who is with the National Center for Healthy Veterans. Bob, welcome aboard, brother.
I'm super excited to be with you today.
Well, that's great, man. I got to tell you, love your hat too. That's
Thank you.
terrific. And there you are in Virginia. You're a Virginian,
Yes,
okay?
sir. Born and
We're
raised.
many of our Texas families originated in Virginia, mine in North Carolina. So we're doing great. Bob, one of the things we need to talk about is what is the National Center for Healthy Veterans? Explain a little bit about that.
Well, it'll take a little while, and I'll try to be to the point and brief. But the National Center for Healthy Veterans is located in Alta Vista, Virginia. We are a 9-month residential program. We're a nonprofit. We were founded by General Bob Dees around COVID time. We sit on about 300 acres of a working farm, which we call Valor Farm. We have chickens, pigs, cows, horses, donkeys, you name it. So we are a working farm. But on top of the hill, it's kind of separated off in what's called the National Center for Healthy Veterans, and that's where our patriots reside in tiny homes around a community center. And we are actually in the process of growing as we speak, even as we speak right now on this interview. And we house veterans that are struggling in life, at-risk veterans, for 9 months at a time, and help them deal with the traumas that they've experienced, whether that be in personal life or in their military service, and help them get back on their feet, with our mission being to return healthy veterans back to America.
You know, that is something that's so badly needed
Yes, sir.
across the nation. And one of the things you guys just did a project in Kentucky that you got your first one going that's outside of Virginia, and that's going real well from what General Dees has said. You also aided here in Collin County, where I am, with a Valor program for Judge Roach and for Sheriff Jim Skinner, which that program is having enormous success. So what you're talking about is a total mind reset. You're talking about a reintegration. You're talking about giving people tools. Obviously, I've had Bob on a bunch of times and
Yes,
we're
sir.
good friends, but this is so important because we want other communities in the United States to know what you guys are doing and know how important it is. So we need for people to go to the National Center for Healthy Veterans. Go take a look at that. There's a tremendous website. We're having some technical difficulties today, but I got to tell you, we want you to take a look, want you to be a part. In that, you're going to see a video from one of their people that is incredible. A guy came, I mean, he was in really, really, really bad shape. Now, most of your treatment programs are about 30 days, right, Bob?
So the way our program works is, you're talking earlier. So we attempt here to rewire the brain, reshape the heart, and restore the soul. So essentially, we're looking for an opportunity for these guys to be here for 9 months. And some may say 9 months is a long time, but we really believe that it takes a while to address some of the issues that these men deal with, and it gives them opportunity to actually live out the change and experience the change in a real way, versus just a program that maybe lasts a week or maybe lasts a weekend, where you have a great experience, but you really haven't had adversity. And some of our guys experience, I mean, it's inevitable. You're going to experience adversity in a 9-month period, but you're surrounded by community and you're not isolated, and you have the support to actually work through that problem or that challenge, because even in a program that's structured, you're still going to have things that come up that, challenge you. So it gives them an opportunity to walk out the resilience that we teach and the principles that we um, try to explain to these guys why they're here. So each program, we work in three different trimesters. So we constantly have new people coming in, graduates moving from one program to the next. So the first 11 weeks is Resilience God Style, which is a program that part of the trilogy that you're aware of that General Dees started and taught at a collegiate level. So they experience Resilience God Style, which is a program that helps them deal with the storms of life, the traumas that they've experienced, and the ones that they're going to experience in the future, and how to deal with that. And the second is 11 weeks is Reboot. Reboot is a trauma-based recovery program, really dives deep into the trauma that they've experienced, wherever that might have been. We try to take that trauma, however far back, pull it out like a root and fill it back with the good that we provide here. We are a faith-based program, so that plays a huge role in what we do. So we try to provide that spiritual side of that for the Patriot as well. And then the third trimester, they get one of the other part of Bob's trilogy, which is resilient leaders. And that's taught in a combination with either an internship on the farm or a paid internship somewhere out in the community. We're really trying to get these guys back integrated into work and life outside of this piece of property. So they graduate out of each 11 week internship, or excuse me, trimester, and then they graduate from the whole program.
And that is so different from any kind of treatment program that I've had some people come on. I've been to facilities. I talked with a guy some time ago who is a real expert, for instance, in alcohol and drug abuse. You know what he said? 30 days, 60 days maximum you spend in most facilities won't work. It
Hmm.
takes at least 9 months to 18 months. After 9 months, you're getting all of that stuff out of your system. Now, one of the other fantastic things that you guys do, which I happen to love, is equine therapy. I will tell you that there is something about a horse that when you bond with a horse or you spend a lot of time with a horse, it changes the horse and you, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. The horse is an amazing conduit that God gave to us. Whether you ride or you're on the ground with them, they're just a majestic creature to begin with, but they provide some type of conduit, and I cannot really explain it in its entirety or do it justice. I can tell you a story, Jim. Like I've been out there where we've been doing horse therapy, equine therapy, where basically our patriots get an opportunity to explain their story through the horse. And what'll happen is it breaks down that unwillingness to share because they're using the horse as the conduit. And I'll watch the most hard-hitted horse, stubborn horse that we have that you can never catch with a guy who really doesn't like to share. And I'll watch that horse walk all the way across the pasture and just put his head up against that guy. It's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. And then they also get an opportunity along with that to learn horsemanship. So our COO, Jake Corwin, actually does most of the horsemanship training with the guys. So they learn how to care for the horse, saddle the horse, ride the horse. And then, if they pursue it further, they can even do things like practicing roping and more advanced riding. So it not only is it the psychological type of therapy, but it also has the riding component to it too, which is pretty special.
It really is. And if people don't understand what it's like to be around horses, I had an Arabian. I actually bought that Arabian when he was like 4 years old. You don't ride an Arabian till after 4, and I trained that horse. And I got to tell you, he and I bonded. It was an amazing process, and he would follow me everywhere. And we would have barn parties, Bob. You have a big bunch of people, and you got the
Sure.
grill going. That horse would raise Cain until I let him out of the stall and join the party, and he would stand right there with me throughout
Yes,
the
sir.
whole party. That's what's amazing. And a lot of people don't understand it. I guess if we could turn horses into service animals like they do with the puppy dogs, it'd be great. But man, you'd have a lot of cleaning up to do.
Well, they definitely are being used more in the therapy world, and people are really seeing the benefit. And just, being on this piece of property, we're so blessed. I mean, when we as created beings get to be in God's creation and we get to experience that, there's definitely something wired inside of us to be with creation and, just admire that. And it definitely helps to heal the soul for sure.
Well, you're there in Virginia, which is absolutely gorgeous. Somewhere like kind of our East Texas, Tyler and all, the big pine trees, and it's
Mhm.
beautiful. I'll bet you, I know a sunrise there in Virginia is amazing. And you guys are doing so much. When you say a faith-based program, and this is based upon the three books that Bob Dees wrote, General Bob Dees, it really gets into resilience. It really gets into helping these guys to be able to cope with the family. Now, it's not just for the men and for the veterans, their families can come too, correct?
Yes, sir. So we have opportunities for obviously like visitation type of deals where families can come spend time because we or some of our patriots come here with they have children, spouses, and just other family that cares and they want to come see. There's definitely we encourage a period of getting settled in and getting yourself squared away and your mind wrapped around the program. Before you're inundated too much with outside, usually the outside world is what probably drove you here in one form or another. So just that ability to come here and reset. But yeah, absolutely. We have family homes in our villages to accommodate for stuff like that. So yeah, it's case by case basis, but there's definitely, it's family oriented for sure.
Now, when I first met Bob Dees, and they had built the first group of tiny home places for people to stay was about 25, right?
Yeah, oddly enough, I'm sitting in one of them right now.
Oh, we
I don't
are.
know if
How
you can tell.
cool.
Yes, sir. You fight for any quiet space around here that will you can set up a computer. But yes, sir, I'm sitting in Village One right now, and just to kind of paint a picture for the audience, let's just call it 5 acres on top of the hill here, and we're surrounded by pine trees and hardwoods, and the community center sits directly in the middle, and that's where we do life for the most part. Big industrial kitchen, big open space with tables and couches and TV. Kind of think game roomy kind of feeling. We
Hmm.
have in the middle wash machines, dryers, pantries, because we do life in there. We eat our meals and we just ate lunch in there as a complete staff. A church came and provided lunch for us today. So the community's always, involved somehow or another. So the lady showed up with this wonderful lunch. And then our gym is in the back of that. And, our guys PT in the mornings as part of their programming. And around that community center, there are these homes, one of which I'm sitting in now, and they're efficiency type homes. So you can tell this room's not huge I'm sitting in, but to the left of me is an efficiency kitchen. I've got a recliner behind me. This area is enough to stretch out, and then behind the door behind me, there's a bed, dresser, closet, and full bathroom. And it's an oasis for these guys. A lot of programs, you're stacked like cordwood on bunk beds in the same room with someone, and that's not all in all a bad thing.
Or you're in a room that looks like a cell.
And
I've seen those.
right. And we want our guys to be able to retreat back to their room an appropriate amount of time and in the right space and time and have that peace and have that sanctity of their own space. But we also don't want to promote isolation either because isolation is a killer. And we want community. So, we'll knock on a door and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a little bit. I need you to come on out and get in the mix. But it gives them a space to get away and clear their head or study or pray or sleep or you name it. And we warm them. We do housewarmings when they come in. So when they're brought in on intake, we put them on their front porch and we show them that we love them. We wrap them in a quilt. We pray for them. We give them a Bible and a gift basket. And the staff is standing around them and we, photograph it so they can remember it. And, just take the extra step to show that we're in this with them and we do care and this is family.
That's huge for a lot of these guys. I get calls all the time. I'm going to have a conversation tonight with a guy down in Corsicana, and he's a Vietnam veteran just like I am, and he needs to talk to somebody. And I think that that's important is how we connect. And you're connected with other veteran service organizations, VFW, American Legion, some of those. But one of the most important things, this is so unique. This is the pilot program. How many people do you think you've had been there? Because you've been there from day one, haven't you, Bob?
I'm not a plank holder, no, sir, but I've been here almost 4 years. And it's funny, I didn't come here for a job. I came here to ride horses. I tell this and tease about this, but I came to ride horses with my best friend, and um, after a certain amount of time, if you are here on this property, God's got you here for a reason. You've just got to figure out why you're here.
I guess I
And
got to get there, huh?
yeah, it's right. And once you figure that out, it's pretty interesting. But I want to go back, if we can, real quick to the Vietnam thing you said, because Bob always tells an interesting story about the wall. He was visiting the Vietnam Memorial, and this talks about our mission. There's a lady there running her hand across the wall saying the name John Thompson, John Thompson, John Thompson. John Thompson's name's not on the wall. Her husband came back from Vietnam with an expiration date, as she says, and lived with the trauma that he experienced in Vietnam. And he brought that back with him. So, that's the case with a lot of our guys is the traumas that we deal with, they're deep down inside, and you may come back and people may look at you and think, oh, he's okay or he's managing. But we want to make sure we identify these men walking around with this so-called expiration date on their lives, and give them the help that they need so that they can live a healthy, productive life. And but I didn't want to leave that out because it's really
No,
important. And
I
but back to your question about, I've been here for almost 4 years, and um, in my experience, we bring in about 5 to 6 men in a cohort every 3 months, essentially. So you have those three different cohorts graduating through the program or the whole deal at the very end. And when that one graduates the whole program, we've got a review board that's waiting on the next group of applicants to bring them in. So
one question I have,
yeah, yes,
because
sir.
somebody's going to call me up and say, how much does it cost? 9 months? How much does it cost? How much is it to the
That's
veterans?
what it costs the Patriot nothing.
And see,
Now,
that's what people need to know. You have an organization, we have an organization that is supporting veterans to get healthy, the National Center for Healthy Veterans. So one of the things that we need to do, Bob, let's give out that website, tell people where they can learn more. They can hear some of these stories because you got some great videos.
yes, sir. So www.healthyveterans.org. You can check us out on Facebook. Just type in National Center for Healthy Veterans. Our logo will pop up. It's pretty easy to find. And then if you go on YouTube, you can also find these videos. We document the stories of our patriots who have had significant life changes. And I don't know about the viewing audience, but it makes my eyes water every time I watch them. I guess I'm a little bit more invested, but it's pretty powerful.
It's very, very, and Bob's gotten to be a great friend, he and his wife, with Diane and I. So we're going to take a break for just a second and come back. We're going to let our sponsors and our partners talk to everybody with their commercials. But Bob and I'll be right back because we're going to talk about a special event in Dallas. We're going to talk about other special events around the nation. The main thing is to get you involved, be a part of this. So when we come back, we're going to tell you about what's going on in Dallas. We'll be right back after these words. You're watching the Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you. We are your Veterans Impact Show.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
All right. Hey, this is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. We're back, and I've got Bob Caughey with the National Center for Healthy Veterans. They're there in a beautiful place in Virginia on a 390-acre, I think, farm that they are helping men and women get back to normalcy, get their lives back, and be productive citizens. Now, one of the things is they have helped a facility in Kentucky get off the ground and going. It's rocking and rolling right now. They also helped Valor Farm or Valor program here in Collin County with Sheriff Jim Skinner and Judge Roach. They're going to do the fourth annual Veterans Appreciation Dinner and fundraiser with their special guest speaker, who's a good friend of mine, Alan West, in Dallas on Thursday, May the 21st, 6 o'clock, the Hope Center here in Dallas. So what we want you to do You can contact the Center for Healthy Veterans. You can contact me at jimblythe.net or at Jim at Veterans Impact Show. We will get you the information to go to this and enjoy it and be a part of it. So please take a look at the National Center for Healthy Veterans and take a look on the fourth annual Dallas Veterans Appreciation. And it's going to be at the Hope Center in Dallas, which is basically in Plano, right near the George Bush Freeway, right near Central Expressway. And I got to tell you, I'm going to be there. Now, in doing that, we made a point. Bob made a point. How much does it cost to the veteran or to their family? Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. How do they do that? They have a lot of major corporate sponsors, but they have a lot of people who are veterans or love veterans or family members of veterans who donate. So you want to go to the National Center for Healthy Veterans, and there's a badge up there, a button that says donate. Want you to be a part of it. How would you like to be a part of something so much bigger than you are? Whether you're in California or Alaska or Maine, especially if you're here in Texas. Because here's the next thing. I have a personal mission to try and bring a Valor Farm to North Texas because I think we have it. We have the largest veteran population in the United States now is Texas. We've gone past California. What I would like to do is see us have one of these here to be able to help people. So donate and get in touch with us and get in touch with the National Center for Healthy Veterans. And let's go back though, Bob, because a lot of people don't know. You guys had a tragedy about a year and a half ago, and
Yes,
your
sir.
main facility, your main arena, went up in flames.
Yes, sir.
And
So that was about the same time I came on full-time staff. And of course, I was around before that. But the day before Veterans Day, which is our big event that we do every year, we had the Lieutenant Governor was scheduled to come speak at the event. We had stages set up. We had equipment set up everywhere. I mean, it's a big deal. And long story short, our barn manager came onto the property early that morning. The event was supposed to be held and pulled down the hill and realized that the whole facility was burnt to the ground. Total loss fire. What burned up with that fire was, in assets, a lot went up in smoke that day, figuratively speaking. But we lost two service donkeys. Fortunately, all the other horses and everything were turned out. They're not in the barn, but we lost two service donkeys that day. All of our barn burn up, our indoor riding arena burn up, our tack room with all of our gear burn up. We lost our office for the equine department and the office for National Center for Healthy Veterans with all the stuff that goes in that. We lost our shop. It was a big deal, and it was burnt to the ground. And it was a very interesting period of time. I would commend General Dees for his leadership. It was very noteworthy, and he led us along that path, and we were able to rebuild. We now pull down the hill and look at the Spirit of Virginia Arena at the National Center for Healthy Veterans in Valor Farm, which is unlike anything I've ever been a part of. It's a gorgeous indoor riding arena with high-tech sand footing and a stage and bleachers and a green room and really nice bathrooms, a podcast room where Jake and I host Tall in the Saddle podcast. I can't say how amazing it is to see what God provided from rubble and ash, where we stood there and looked at personal belongings gone, animals lost, operations lost, and now we see what sits there now. But to your point earlier about fundraising, yeah, we don't charge our patriots to come here and heal, but it does take a lot of fundraising and the beans and the bullets that Bob always talks about when he travels and does these fundraisers is a real deal. As a nonprofit, I've never worked for a nonprofit before, Jim, and it was an eye opener because you're trying to do good work, but it takes a whole lot of effort to make that rubber meet the road. But God always provides, and we have a lot of unique opportunities during this period of time for fundraising. We have a banner campaign where you can buy a banner for your business or whatever you want to, promote in our arena. We have a brick campaign where we're going to line the patio between our new barn that we have not built yet and our arena with people's names, commemorative bricks. And then, of course, the normal fundraising opportunities. But we still need to build a barn. We still need to build remote stalls. We still need to build offices and classrooms. The list goes on. These things are one and done projects, but they still have to be done.
Well, you also got phase two of your housing. You're
Yes, sir.
building, you just got started with that. I think you built your first one over there.
Yes,
So
sir.
that,
I've got the numbers written down so I wouldn't forget them. But yeah, because it's so much going on. We have about half of Village 2 in the community center pretty much done at this point.
good.
We've got half, the other half the houses we're holding right now. We have concrete slabs and plumbing established, but we're just going to wait till we get those filled and that community center landscaped and up and running. But by the end of the summer, we could potentially have 44 homes uh, habitable, which is a lot.
Yeah, and that is a big program.
Yes, sir.
This and you take in many cases you take some of the guys that are struggling the most. I know Bob just hardly ever turns anybody down to get them back on their feet, get going. All right, we're going to take another break to hear from our partners. This is Veterans Impact Show. I'm Jim Blythe, the U.S. Navy veteran, and I am really missing my co-host Cedric White. Unfortunately, brother had Cedric, big man of God, has a big cold, and so he's in bed and he's going to be watching this. So Cedric, we're here for you and we're praying for you. And drink more fluids, a lot of vitamin C. Okay. So this is Veterans Impact Show. We'll be right back for you, helping veterans throughout the United States. We are part of the solution. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
Hi, Veterans Impact Show, and I'm Jim Blythe. I have to stop for just a second and say thank you to a couple of our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, who I work for. My MLS number is 311548, and theirs is 2289, the corporate one. We're an equal opportunity lender, and I specialize in senior care, taking care of the elderly in 6 states. Now, we're a full service country. We're across the nation, from Hawaii to Alaska to Maine to Florida. We're here to help people with home ownership, refinancing. We also do an awful lot with the American Warrior Initiative. We have done somewhere in the neighborhood of 450 service dogs that have been given away, over $1 million worth of highly trained service dogs. I also want to thank Symbios Integrative Health. They've treated over 5,000 veterans with about a 90+% success rate in helping people with pain management, PTSD, other chronic diseases. I've seen things I've personally experienced, and they have saved my life. They are saving veterans' lives across this nation. So I want to say thank you to both of them, and thank you to the Hope Center. Let me tell you, this is a beautiful place. Thank you, June Hunt, and all you do for veterans. They sponsored our Walking into the Fire. They're always here for us. And for Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, Cedric and Michelle White, amazing people. Go to Healing Thine Hearts if you want to learn about marriage counseling, taking care of veteran families. We also have a great church, the Healing Heart Ministry. Contact me. Go take a look on Facebook. You're going to love it. So now let's continue this conversation that Bob Caughey and I are having, who is the project manager for the National Center for Healthy Veterans. What do you think is probably the toughest thing that you guys have to deal with?
Wow, that's a big
That's a
question.
loaded question,
That's
isn't
a
it?
very loaded question. I guess it depends on what angle you're working with. I think trying to be everything for everybody and whether that's the people you serve or the community you're serving, for me personally, but then also really realizing that just being authentic and being available and realizing that God is the one that's going to change, our lives in any aspect of life or walk of life, but just being available and um, willing to listen. I guess it really depends on what specifically, what angle you were looking at. There's nothing really all in all hard about what we do. There's challenges, but everything's more than worthwhile when you see the effective change in these men's lives.
I think, and you do take ladies as well.
No, sir, we don't currently.
Oh,
It's
no,
just
you don't?
no,
Okay,
sir.
I'm
It's
mistaken.
a male facility currently. We're not equipped to house females on this campus. We do have future plans to integrate female trauma recovery here in some aspect, but just currently we're not able to facilitate that appropriately.
Let me make a suggestion to my audience. Go look up Major General Bob Dees. He's got 3 books on resilience that he wrote when he was working with Liberty University. They're amazing. I'm getting them. I'm going through it, especially Resiliency for Leaders. This is something that I think is beginning to be lacking in this country is that resiliency, that strength, that survivor to be able to go forward. And I think that's real important. You take a look, read their books, because this is what it's all about. And this is what the National Center for Healthy Veterans is all about as well. Bob, can you tell us maybe some more stories about individuals without naming names who have been
You bet.
helped or some of their circumstances when they came to you?
You bet. So you brought up earlier like who we target and what our target market is. So General D's uses the iceberg analogy a lot with describing it. So we're searching out the at-risk veterans that either identify themselves as at risk or family members, friends refer them to our program. So, suicidal ideations, previous drug substance abuse, homelessness, um, criminal offenses, things of that nature. The problems that tend to follow you your entire life until you really make some serious change. That's the men we're looking at targeting because maybe the guy that just needs a little pep in his step or something like that would benefit from the weekend program or what have you. But the men that come through our program need the 9 months to actually address those issues. And so today, our community center was completely organized, run, staffed, and all of our lunches and breakfasts and that facility was run by a Patriot graduate. This
Great.
Patriot came about 2 years ago, went through the 9 month program. He came to us out of incarceration. He had spent the last 22 years in prison, I believe, and came out and did not know what in the world. He did not have the support and the structure to make life work. Found out about our program, came here, went through the program successfully, graduated, and wanted to stay and give back. And now he runs our community center and acts as a part-time peer mentor when needed. And I mean, and he just got married. He just celebrated his first year anniversary.
Oh,
He got
wow.
married after this program. Yes, sir. They're local and support us. And it just, I mean, I can tell you about a guy who graduated 2 or 3 graduations ago, moved back, pretty sure to Kentucky, and got back into ministry. Stories of sobriety, guys going back to be husbands and dads and sons, and not only going back to do that, but being successful in that and being the men that they want to be and could have been. And I can tell you about trying to think of
Hey, how
some.
about Chubby Checker's son?
Yeah.
I
So
know that story.
yeah, you're getting me because I want to start firing out names and be like, oh yeah, so and so, but I'm trying not to do that. So yeah, that gentleman, he was working for a food industry. Last time I had talked to him, I saw him about a month ago. Came to us, basically, let's just say homeless, more or less, the best I can recall. He drives back onto property in the vehicle that he's owning and paying for and insurance on and being successful and working and singing. He sings as well. He'll come and sing for events for us and just, to see the joy on their face and the stress. I mean, you're going to have stress of normal life, but to see that weight that they come in with and then to see them do this program successfully and learn how to live again and be successful again and, find faith and things like that, you see a different demeanor. It's a whole person change. And That's what gets me out of bed every morning and brings me to this property and keeps my fire lit for sure. Those stories.
One of the things that some years ago somebody said to me, I don't understand why the veterans have all these problems. And I said, because they've been places you haven't been. They've seen things you've never seen. They've done things you've never experienced.
Mhm.
They have so much inside of them. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. It's like peeling an onion. It's not just this. You don't just have a cold, you've got other problems. So, one of the things that General Dees does with his training that they have built is to peel back that onion, get down to the core causes. And I can tell you from some of the conversations that I've had with General Dees, many of these problems are not just from the military. They started way back when
Yeah.
these people were children and went through abuse or
Mhm.
saw things that they shouldn't have seen and were exposed to things they shouldn't have been exposed to. And they go into the military. So many kids, and this is
Mhm.
true of Vietnam, a lot of the guys I was in boot camp with, they were there to get away from the circumstances they were in. And those guys have a real tough time because they don't have that underpinning of strength and faith. And that's what you guys give them.
Yes, sir. It's kind of like compounding interest. I think of it that way with money. And, you know, if you go into a really tough military experience with all that trauma too, you know, now you're an adult, now you're dealing with it in inappropriate ways, unhealthy ways. It's compounding on the trauma. And yeah, you know, something that's really been eye-opening for me is, you know, a lot of times that early childhood trauma will trap the human brain at that age, and you may be sitting across from an adult, but his brain is operating at a very young age because his brain could never mature past that trauma. So those decisions are made out of that place of, let's just call it immaturity, because the brain got stuck there. So being able to identify that, meet them where they are, deal with that trauma and help them, and then grow from that point is crucial. And you can't do that in a weekend.
Uh-uh. One of the things I learned in getting involved as a volunteer with Symbios is when you go through trauma of any kind, and especially in military, we went through some pretty tough stuff. It changes the chemistry of the brain. It really does. So what Symbios does is helping veterans with a medical that is non-surgical, non-narcotic, basically using your body to return the healthiness to the body, get the blood flowing, make things happen. Matter of fact, I've talked to you about it, and we've had General D's in our clinic, and we're going to be bringing this to you guys. We're getting some new machines, and it's going to help. But the main thing is, veterans have led the way
Hmm.
since World War One, and veterans. There are not just veterans who need a facility like Valor Farm. It's not just veterans because we are showing, we are developing the systems, the training,
Hmm.
the attitude development, the spiritual component to help anybody who's been through trauma. And let me tell you something. You were a firefighter. You really got your start being a firefighter, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep, that's right.
You and you saw a lot of rough, tough stuff, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yep. Yep, America needs her veterans. I mean, they have been trained, and first responders, service members, you name it. I mean, like, it's a selfless sacrifice to be able to do that. I don't care what you're coming from, and you know, everybody has a different reason to serve, but it doesn't matter. If you serve, you served, and you deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and to heal from traumas, whether you brought it in with you or not. And um, any kind of medical technology, you know, that can help with that. Our dream one day is to have a completely built veterans lodge with you know, those resources in a separate room where if a guy's having a bad day, he could go sit in the recliner that has the red light therapy in it and put the goggles on with the earphones on it and put the wave machine. You know, there's so many new technologies, and
You
you
bet.
know, I hate to think that, you know, there would be things. I know in the big world there are things, we've talked about this, that slow that that type of progression down. It's just the big wheels moving. But as far as we're concerned, if we can get our hands on, proven best practices and holistic treatments, we're going to provide that to our patriots while they're here and help them heal. That's our mission.
Well, I've seen it work. And with my own body, I've seen it work because I went through some help and because I've got cancer, I've had kidney problems, had other problems. Let me tell you something. Integrative health works. I had a doctor look me right straight in the eye and he said, I believe in what you're doing. But let me tell you, you're going to have a real uphill battle because the American medical industry is broken today. Integrative health has got to lead the way. And part of what integrative health is, quite frankly, is what you guys are doing with
Mhm.
Valor Farms.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. It's something different. No drugs, no narcotics, no needles, no pins, no surgery, no shock treatment. There are things to be able to help people, and we're leading the way. One of the other things I think is so wonderful is that, again, taking this program, can you imagine if we could get this program in 50 states and there'd be so much valor going around? My goodness gracious.
Yeah, we currently, Jim, we have a guy here that in this new second trimester cohort that does came to us from Hawaii. I'm not sure which island, but yeah, we get guys from all over the nation. And the other question we get asked a lot is, I'll have a guy's 28 years old sitting beside a guy that's 68 years old, and a lot of people don't quite, you know, we have a lot of preconceived notions about things that we don't know or we haven't investigated, but they're not. We have a very diverse population here, and that just goes to show me and you and everybody else that the trauma of life is not it's not selective. It applies to everybody. So
Well, let me tell you something. Just driving on the freeways of any major city in the United States will drive you nuts.
no doubt.
And if you've ever been in a real good accident, and I've been through several
Hmm.
freeway accidents, I have actually been through two freeway accidents, one in Los Angeles and one in Dallas,
Wow.
where all the cars in front of me started hitting each other and
That-
opened up, and we went just flying right between, and you
Wow.
could hear them coming back. And I'm watching in the rearview mirror. Both of them ended up with being more than 50 cars in a pileup. That's enough. If you were in something like that and you got smacked by an 18 wheeler, that's going to set you back. This is what we're talking about, though, is an integrative health program like Valor Farm that enables people to reset. Again, one of the things that I have learned when you go through trauma, it puts chemicals in your brain, and you got to get them out. You got to get it reset. You got to get the hypothalamus working. And I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I've experienced it. When you see a guy who's in his 60s and his hands are shaking so bad and he's a close friend of yours
Yeah.
and you have to open the ketchup deal for him at Whataburger
Yep.
and you say, "Come with me." And you see him get treatments, and after three treatments, he's able to write his name for the first time. You guys have had a whole lot of experience of men who've been there and they couldn't do right. They couldn't think right. They were dependent on alcohol, dependent on drugs. And you give them treatment, you give them a chance, and you give them that practical hands-on experience that does the same thing. They quit shaking, don't they?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and in their own whatever their shake is, let's just say, So, and let's not, forget this is a faith-based program. So we set it up for them, but we definitely believe that, the Lord is the ultimate shaper and changer of a man's soul. So
I agree with you totally. I'm an ordained chaplain, and my co-host is a minister. I so thoroughly enjoy being a part of our church. So we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors who are helping us out. Those people who want to help veterans, you want to help veterans, then go to basically the National Center for Healthy Veterans, National Center for Healthy Veterans.org. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. This is Veterans Impact Show. We ask you to share this. We ask you to follow it, get the word out, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
This is Jim Blythe, and I'm about to bring this program back into the Old Navy term, I guess you might say. I spent 4 years in the Navy, 3 combat tours of Vietnam on aircraft carriers. I can relate to what these young men and women are doing right now, working 24/7 flight ops in the Middle East. I pray that if people don't like what's going on, keep it to yourself, because there are people's lives at stake and people who are trying right now to take care of what's going wrong in this world. You got to stop a maniac who's shooting missiles helter-skelter now around the Middle East to all of the countries, trying to blow up everybody. And they were so close to having a nuclear weapon. I got to tell you, I'm all for starting the war that stops the war before it starts. And if you go back in history, a man named Neville Chamberlain had the chance to do that, and he could have stopped World War II, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And millions of people lost their lives. I think what we've got going on right now is going to stop a tremendous amount of damage. Bob, it's so great to have you on board. You're project manager. You started off, though, we barely touched on it, as a fireman. There's a lot of training you get in the fireman that is the same as the military. And can you then relate quite well to the guys who are coming in to help you?
Yeah, I think it definitely gives me a little bit of ability to speak the same language. There's a bit of a brotherhood that's shared there. I mean, service is service, but there's training that you get, just like in the military, I would assume, that you get on the front end, but there's nothing that replaces the test trial by fire, so to speak, when you're actually in the combat or a fire or the trials of life, you fill in the blank. So what we do here is try to provide, best practices, proven holistic uh, type training, whether it be in the classroom or dignified work or work with the animals, that help deal with traumas, prepare them for the storms of life. But then when you get out on your own and life smacks you in the mouth, that's when you pray to God that the training kicks in. And that's why it takes a little while. That's why this program is not a short program, because you have to. I told a guy today that, the time he spends here gives him the opportunity to walk these things out in a controlled environment with support, with accountability, versus being at home without support or may not have the accountability or the resources. So why not do that here? Don't look at a problem here as a problem. Look at it as an opportunity to work that problem out the right way and deal with it the right way, so that when you're on your own or you have less resources, you'll be able to fall back on your training. The general always says we lean the way we fall the way we lean. And there's a lot of truth to that. So we want these guys leaning up against the right things, so that, God forbid, we're all going to fall at some point. The Bible says we all fall. But if you're leaning the right way and towards the right things, hopefully you fall in the right direction and then get back up.
One of the things about the military from the day one, it's train, 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 train. You learn and grow. And you are put in situations that are frequently very difficult, frequently very hard to deal with. But you do. And you got a team around you that supports you. I had an admiral one time at a meeting. He and I were speaking together. And he said, "Jim, who leads the Navy?" And most people would say, "Well, Chief of Naval Operations or the officers." No, I said, "Admiral, the chief petty officers run the Navy. He said, you are exactly right, because we learn leadership in working together. And that's where also a place like Valor Farm enables people to relearn that leadership, re-experience that leadership, and re-experience working
Mhm.
together. So again, we want you to go to National Center for Healthy Veterans. There is a donate button. Please be a part of it. And Bob, do you know if this flyer for the fourth annual Veterans Appreciation Dinner is on the Healthy Veterans?
If it is not, our development team, I'm sure, can get it up sooner
Okay,
than
and
later, for sure.
and I'm going to say to Diane, sweetheart, would you please get this on our veteransimpactshow.com website? We want people to know, we want people to go, we want people to be able to hang out with some of the greatest people in the world, veterans. I mean, a little egotistical because I'm one of them, and that ain't no bad deal. Also, next week we're going to have Cedric back, feeling great, doing great. Again, go to Healing Thine Heart's Ministry. They do a magnificent job, marriage counseling, and our tremendous church, the Hope Heart Fellowship dot church. I'm sorry, I got so much going on. Heart Fellowship dot church. So this is an important things for you to know. I always like to close with a prayer because it's important, because God leads the way. If you don't believe so, just look at the 91st Psalm. It is the Psalm of protection, it is the warrior Psalm. So I would like to close with a prayer. Lord God of the universe, we come to you with humble hearts and we say, thank you, thank you for men like General Dees and for Bob and for places like Valor Farm and for the National Center for Healthy Veterans who are leading the way to bring our veterans back where they have strong, where they are community minded, where they are leadership minded, where they are helping and reaching out, and that they can have successful families. They can successfully mentor children and others. Thank you, God, for these men and women who have gone through so much and are leading the way back. Thank you, dear God, for our nation and the opportunity for us to come together. And dear God, we pray in your holy name that this nation comes together, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Bob, thank you, buddy, for being on board. Now, you're going to go ride a great horse this afternoon?
I have to go pack for a trip to Kentucky. We're going to Road to the Horse, which is a big colt starting event in Kentucky. So Jake and our development coordinator, we're all leaving in the morning, but
All
not
right.
this
Safe
week.
journey. Have a great time. Thank you again for being part of Veterans Impact Show. And thank you for being part of Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you. Again, follow us, Facebook, follow us on YouTube. We're with DBTV Network. We're AUN TV Network. They put us on Spotify, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. Look through DBTV and AUN if you're out in Northern California. We're here for you. Thank you for being here for us. Have a great day.